Well, welcome back. You know that intro when we talk about the top professionals in the area? We are lucky enough to have one of them right here in a field that you don't always get top professionals, and I think people know that. David Murphy joins us, Director of Operations with Credit Insider Club Credit Repair. He's been the Director of Operations there for over 22 years with his experience. Welcome back, David.
Hey, thanks for having me again, Ben.
It's good to see you. You know, we were talking earlier, right when we started the show about, well, I know you're a big sports fan, about, the understanding the selection of a quarterback and the selection of a house and how there's all these different features and benefits that go with it. And, I guess in the same breath, you could also talk about the selection of a husband or wife. And, with credit, that can be another feature or benefit that could be good or bad.
It certainly could be. One of the things with dating these days is you get a copy of their credit report and their blood work, and then you're good to go.
How's that work? How do you ask? Is that first date or second date material?
Well, probably second date.
Second date, yeah. Like, I'm gonna need to see a copy of your credit report before this goes any further. Guess it depends on if they're pulling out you can probably tell. Is it the debit card or the credit card at dinner?
Or the platinum card.
Yeah, or the black. The Amex Black, never mind. Okay. So what are some tips you have, the dating part of that? I guess it is a big piece when you decide to get married, is going into that and understanding each other's financial situation.
You know what? I really don't recommend getting joint credit cards together. I think keep your credit separate individually. You want to have...
When you get married?
Yes. When you have a joint checking account, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that if you have a joint credit card and you're late on just a 30-day late, that's going to affect 6 credit reports. Yours, hers, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, 30-day ding. Right there.
And so by keeping them separate, I guess you're almost kind of hedging your bet. Like, hey, if we have a mishap on one, then the other person's credit can still remain very good.
At least one set of the couple has to have good credit. That's the key. I mean, obviously, it's be nice to have 700 across the board for both of you. Then there's not going to be any problems when you're applying for credit, loans, cars, insurance.
Sure. But I guess that would make a lot of sense, because if something goes awry and you're married, and now you have one person who maybe has the better credit, and now they can go get that car loan with a less expensive interest rate. Or, maybe if they qualify for the mortgage on their own, they can do that with a lower rate. I mean, There's all these different factors that go into that, it doesn't matter if you're both paying it or if you have joint income, but you can keep your credit really separate.
It's also a wise idea to have one person in the family pay the bills at a certain portion of time. And like I preach to everyone, pull up your credit report once every 6 months so you know exactly who's reporting on you, that there's no errors. Also, make sure you know who shows up on your credit report. So the people that you want to pay off, the credit cards, Macy's, Nordstrom's, any type of credit card is going to be on the credit report. But there are plenty of bills that aren't on your credit report.
And so when you start thinking about that marriage concept, or what the bills to pay, the marriage concept, when you start putting, getting married and you have these separate accounts, what about when you get divorced? I guess that keeps the credit parts cleaner too. Or if you get divorced, not when.
Yeah. If. Okay, sure. Listen, one of the things that I recommend is if you're thinking about getting a divorce, again, pull up the credit report and get an idea of the balances that are on each of the cards. Because once you get divorced and you have joint credit, it doesn't matter what the divorce decree says. You're both responsible. So, unfortunately, I see a lot of clients who have taken it in the shorts here, and they don't pay. One of them doesn't pay on time, okay? One wants to take down the other spouse. So what happens is one spouse pays all their bills, the other spouse doesn't pay at all.
And you take them down, huh?
You take them
down to Chinatown.
Well, it's better that you take the responsibility, see what bills are owed, and take that half. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, it does make a lot of sense because you can still manage them the same way. You can still manage your credit or, your car loans or whatever the same way. But if you're not both on them, now, of course, there's a qualification issue sometimes. You have to both be on some things.
Sure.
But if you can avoid it, you really are kind of hedging that bet on maintaining, at least having one person maintain good credit. Makes a lot of sense.
It does. And you could also wind up being an authorized user, too. And then there's the potential of being a co-signer, which it's a whole different story.
When people go through a divorce and you see one person take down the other person's credit, man, that sounds ugly.
It is.
It is, yeah. So is there remedies? I mean, how do you do that if you go back through credit repair or whatnot? I guess that could be a really long process. That can really never end if the person just continues not to pay.
That's correct. I mean, if you're in something like a loan for a car, for instance, and you both have the car, you're better off paying off the car. I mean, because if the other spouse is consistently late and you're in a joint account, there's really no hope at that point until that debt is taken care of and balance is zero.
Yeah. Well, David, it is good information. Credit is such a big piece of what people go through these days. I mean, it's a big piece of what you can purchase. It's a big piece of how you can finance things, the rates you get, and, of course, affordability. We see it in mortgage all the time. It comes into car loans. It comes into life insurance and so many different factors.
And employment now, too.
Yeah, and employment. So I guess if the deadbeat ex-spouse can't get a job, you could keep the other one from getting one, too. That does not sound fair. But then they better not expect their alimony, huh, David?
That's right.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, David Murphy, Director of Operations with Credit Insider Club Credit Repair. When we come back, we're going to go back onto the real estate conversation. We'll be right back after this break.